Yo, what's going on, y'all? It's your boy SoSo, and welcome back to the channel. Make sure you're hitting that like, comment, and subscribe button, and more importantly, hit that notification button. That way you guys get notified when we drop hits like this. It's officially Miami Golf Bros Open week, and on this episode, we're talking about how the Panthers tied the series with the Maple Leafs, the Heat season ending, and what they got in the future, and we put our own grades for the Dolphins draft picks. It's time to take a ride, y'all. Let's go!
Showed you any of that?
No, bro.
Oh man, all right.
Holding out on me, dog.
Damn, remind me after the show. Then we got to do the show right now. I'll show you after that. I'll show you after that.
You want me, bro? Is that This is now that we're talking about.
I can't talk about next year's trip because
yeah.
we gotta get to this year's trip, which is only at this point now 2 days away.
Yeah, no, and it couldn't come at a better time, right? Like I feel like now the Miami Golf Bros chat for 2025 is like peaking.
All-time high.
It's at an all-time high right now. So it's fun to see the excitement, you know what I mean? And like look forward to the course and where we're playing.
Shit, I can't wait.
Bro. We just watched the video.
Whoa.
I'm just saying.
I thought you didn't want to let the intel out there for the community.
They don't know what video.
Yeah, we just saw the course, bro. It looks sick. At least one of them. We're playing 3 different courses.
Yes.
One of them we're playing twice or whatever, but the one we just saw, bro, looks insane.
Bro, you know what I wanted to get your real opinion on, dog, is the Thursday round. Because the Thursday round is always fun, right? It's like a cool atmosphere. You got a 4-man scramble going. But we usually do like an easier course, right? To like break in the warm-up, you know, give everybody a little chance to work on it. We're going to Mystic Dunes. And that place is like notorious, obviously, for their name and all the bunkers and stuff, but like the massive bunkers that they have. What are your thoughts about like how that's gonna help people be like, maybe I shouldn't go for the certain shots, maybe I should try to work on my short game or figure out what my layup is gonna be for the weekend? Like, how are you approaching that Thursday round? Because it's not your typical easy Thursday round.
First and foremost, you know, I think that saying that we try to pick easier courses, I just pick a course, dog. Every course is hard to me equally. They're not. I know some are harder than others, but at our level, bro, they're all hard. First of all,
yeah, no doubt.
Second of all, I mean, the beautiful thing is that since we are playing a course that we don't know that is a little challenging like that, you know, the pictures look crazy, but we're going to be playing it in a 4-man.
Yeah.
So that's the best format for a course like that. And, you know, somebody's going to bail somebody out. You have 4 chances at every shot. There's bound to be one decent enough shot to get you up there and out there and hopefully up and down for par at the very worst.
Yeah, and I think if people approach it the right way, right, like, hey, this is a fun round. Let me work on a couple of things that I might run into on Saturday, Friday, and Sunday. Then that works, man, because then at least you're getting your swing process down, your thoughts.
Yeah, nice little, like, it's a gentle handshake for the golf trip.
Handshake, you know what I mean?
You get there, the boys are rowdy, everybody's saying what's up, haven't seen you maybe since last year for some guys.
Man. Yeah.
And you're like, damn, I'm pumped, I can't wait for this weekend, all the energy's starting, it's not even peak yet, because not all the group is going. You got the majority, but not everybody's gonna be there for that round.
Right.
So it's still building up. This is still like the official pregame.
It's like a small foundation.
That Thursday round is like the official pregame for the Miami Golf Bros Open.
Yeah, man, and 2025, we're doing it big, bro, and honestly, that's an awesome success for you, bro. I'm so proud that you can put together a trip like this, and I've done it already for 5 years, bro, and counting, right? It's really dope that you do this, man, and on behalf of everybody in the group, tip of the hat, man. Thank you for putting all this shit together.
I appreciate it, man. I do it for the boys, man. I do it for everybody. Everybody that's going. We started with 12 guys, and we're at 28, you know, and I've had guys, you know, that I didn't think that, you know, friends of mine, like really good friends of mine that I didn't even think were into golf that have hit me up and like, hey man, can I get on the, you know, the wait list for the golf trip or whatever I got to do? And, you know, to see those guys go out there and like enjoy it from a different perspective than say like, you know, somebody that's been on the golf trip 2 or 3 times already, seeing like the atmosphere for the first time, or like kind of how it all works or functions or how they fit into that mix. It's awesome. Like those little unknown variables is what I like. I hate, but I also love, because like you just never know what you're gonna get when you're planning it all for everybody. The unknown variables are the worst thing because you don't know what's gonna come up. But in terms of the look back, the retrospective person,
right,
the person in the future, you know, it's a good thing because it leads to great stories that, like, you know, they never die.
No, man, and each trip is unique, right? Because of the people that go, you know what I mean, and like the things that happen, whether it's on the golf course, off the golf course, you know, and the bonding.
Exactly.
And we've seen that firsthand, right? With, like, for instance, Steve's league, right, and the 365 Flag Football League, how he feels, you know, bringing all these guys together to have some fun and play and compete. And that's the same thing that you're doing, right? Bringing people together to, like, you know, maybe make a new friend or not find something in common with like 6 other guys that you wouldn't have met before, right? It's a dope thing to do, man, to bring people together and really do it for a cool thing like golf is. So yeah, man, I'm really excited for Miami Golf Bros.
Yeah, man.
And as a big teaser, we got some fire for these guys, dog, this year.
Oh, you know, we ever since we started this and we started doing, like, you know, a polo here and a hat there for like a, you know, swag bag, goodie bag, whatever you want to call it, we've just stepped it up every year. And I don't even want to talk about it because I'm going to get too excited and spoil it or spoil something, a part of it, an aspect of it. So we'll leave it at that. But you got to tune in. Follow me, Miami Golf Pros.
Yes,
it's definitely going to be a highlight of the trip is what we worked on. Thank you also for helping me with all the shit that we worked on the trip. Bro. Yeah, it didn't, you know, it took a village, you know what I mean? In order to do big things, you need to have big minds, you know, get together.
Yo, it's 28 dudes, right?
Yeah, dog. And it gets harder.
It gets harder and
harder to manage. You need as much help as you can get. That's what I've learned. But I would love to. I mean, I know some people have reached out there like, how can we get in on this? How can we do this? And dog, I've been thinking about wanting to set up a tournament here in Miami.
Yeah, that'll be dope, man.
Like maybe starting next year I think that would be enough time. Give myself a year to set something up, but do like a Miami Golf Bros Open tournament here in Miami. I just don't even know what kind of format, if I want to do individual, if I want to do like a team event thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If I want to do like I don't even know any of those details. I just know enough. I feel like enough people have reached out that want to be a part of it, and I can only imagine if like we make it a big community thing here, like how many more people we can get involved. Like how many of those people that don't even know that golf, that are friends of mine, would come out of the woodwork and be like, yeah, dude, I'll absolutely play in your tournament.
Yeah, and you know, word spreads quickly when it's a good thing, right? And the fact that we have people that continue to want to be a part of it, right? And people that brings other people to come and participate in the open and shit is really dope, man. It's a really cool thing to bring people together, dog. And
it's fun. It's fun too.
Yeah, man.
We have so much fun, bro.
I think a good way for people to be able to get on that quote unquote waiting list is by making sure they're subscribed to your YouTube channel.
Oh, absolutely.
Right, because that definitely helps your status. For sure.
Follow me on everything on YouTube. Yeah. I mean, that's really where I'm at. YouTube and Instagram. Follow me and subscribe. You already know the deal. And if you're not already subscribed to here, please make sure you're doing that too.
Absolutely, man. So if you're watching this and you're one of the boys riding to a trip, trust me, you guys are not gonna be disappointed. It's one for the books.
Yeah, we're gonna.
And I don't want to say. I want to say it, but like, damn.
About where we're staying?
Yeah, no, not where we're staying, but like what we got on the swag bag and shit like that. Because like we've done some cool stuff, and you can check that out on his page.
Yeah.
You know the stuff that we've done before, and I feel like we just took it to like a whole nother level this year, dog.
Yeah.
Rightly so.
We did.
Rightly so.
We did.
We did.
I'm gonna leave it at that. We did, but the house is sick too. We got a mansion.
Wild.
We got a 22,000 square foot mansion with a Harry Potter room that nobody wants to sleep in.
No.
But we'll figure that out.
Fun. That's gonna be interesting.
We'll figure it out.
That's part of the shenanigans. Did you say shenanigans?
Did you say shenanigans? I didn't. I don't want to get pistol whipped.
Oh.
I don't.
Yeah, man. Make sure you guys are following that because we can't wait to bring you the content. It's gonna be dope. A lot of cool action shots and stuff like that. And you can also tune in for the daily, what are you gonna shoot? That's always fun, right? To see what people shoot, what they think they're gonna shoot pre-round to what they actually shot post-round.
That'll be on the Sports with SoSo Instagram.
Yes, so make sure you guys are following us there on the Instagram stuff. Let's get into some serious topics.
What do we got? What can we possibly start with that we were so yearning to talk about right now?
I don't know, but it has something to do with this dope-ass logo that we got right here with the Florida Panthers.
What a series, 4 games in, homie.
Yeah, you know, and bro, it's crazy because the other day I was thinking about it. I was like, this is a team that you can feel confident in knowing exactly what you're getting from them every single time they're in the playoffs. It's not like coño, I wonder what they're going to do this year, or is this guy going to be good? Is this guy going to stay hot? It's not that. It's every year we know who we're going to rely on. We know how to play together. We know who we got in goal, and we're able to build off of that and add little pieces, tweak the system here and there.
Yeah.
But the same results continue to come through. right? They make quick work of that first round, right? Now everybody looks at that against Tampa Bay. Now they look at
what was that? A gentleman's sweep or was it a sweep?
It was a gentleman's sweep, 5-1.
Sure, it wasn't a sweep?
Yeah. I'm sure.
Yeah. They
sure,
won. They did win one. Yeah.
I'm sure.
I'm gonna look into that for a second.
Yeah, but then everybody was looking towards this matchup because Toronto was a team that we faced last year as well, right? And they played us tough, and they've always been one of the best teams in the NHL, right? They actually finished in the top 2 this year, ahead of the Panthers. That's why they got home ice.
Home ice, exactly. And they got the first 2 games at home. Do you think that was an edge for them or an advantage in those 2 wins?
Not necessarily, and this is why, right? And I mentioned it to a colleague of mine at work, right, Kevin. I was like, in those 2 games, right? Yeah, Toronto walked away with the game, right? They won the war, quote unquote.
Yeah, they won back-to-back at home.
But the battle, the physicality that was being exerted on that ice was all Florida Panthers in both games. So when I saw that and the way that the games were ending, the first game was 5-4, and we were up, and they had to battle back, right? And they got that goal, right, in overtime. All right, cool. And then, or in regular series. And then again, the second game, the Panthers go down 4-3, right? And again, it's like, all right, we didn't lose until the last second, and we did a comeback. And this is off of Toronto coming out strong and being up a goal or 2 in the very first period in both games.
But that goes back to what I'm saying about the home ice advantage is those early starts. We come out a little bit slow, a little sluggish. They're off hot both of those games. And, that's where we end up coming up short ultimately is because they come out so hot. Yeah. I think, I just think it's that. But then you can argue, we come back home in the third game, and, I know we still want to talk about some things in the first 2, but we come back in the third, and, they get hot, on us when we're at home. And then it's a dogfight at home for that third and ultimately now the fourth game that we tied it up.
In a game that you need to win, right? Because game 3s are always pivotal in any series. Basketball, baseball,
Not hockey, a lot of people that go down 0-3, 0-2.
And come back, right? Unless you're the fucking Red Sox, you can do that.
Or was it 3-1, the Cavs did it?
Yeah, the Cavs did it too. But, it's very rare. Very rare when those things happen. But it goes back to how the Panthers are built, right? And what I saw from them in those first 2 games and how they were able to transpose that into the third and fourth game, right? That physicality, though, because obviously we know how tough these hockey players are, right? Nobody's backing off or backing down from anybody,
right? Especially
in playoffs. It felt like every time the cleaner hits were being laid, it was the Panthers laying dudes out. Which, again, if you try to match that physicality with the Panthers, how they're currently built, right, then they're going to be able to use that to their advantage and either out-muscle you, or at least to play with your mind and get you to do something that may give us a penalty that we can score on. You look at the veterans that we got now. Marchand's playing like a beast, right? He's been all over the ice. Seth Jones, a big goal.
Did he have the game winner?
Yeah,
Marchand?
He had the game winner. And Seth Jones also scored. You got Barkov.
Seth Jones also scored a goal for the other team.
Yes, by mistake. Those things happen, right? But that's how bullshit that victory was that Toronto ended up getting, right? It just goes to show you that the veteran leadership that this team is built on, the physical players that those guys are, that can match the energy of Matty Tkachuk, man, that just puts this Panthers team on another level. And we saw it in the third and fourth game, because even in that third game, you mentioned it, they went down 2-1 early in that first period, and it was like, all right, they're gonna have to fight for their lives, giving up another goal to Toronto to go down 3-1, and then it's like, all right, let's just score 3 goals real quick and figure this shit out. And it was like, God damn, what type of team are we witnessing here?
It seemed like we were out of it. I remember saying, I was like, texting in the group chat, I was like, we're cooked. And then all of a sudden, bro, they just started clawing back.
And you mentioned it, Brad Marchand had that big game winner goal in overtime, being in the right spot at the right time.
Yeah.
But that's how much of a dog he is. And now, again, that's another veteran that's been to the highest of highs and experienced the lowest of lows, especially at the hands of the Panthers, right? Like, to know what type of energy and type of frame of work you have to put in order to get some type of results.
Yeah, I definitely agree that the physicality is, I think, on our side. That's our edge. But I got to give credit where credit's due, bro. And the Maple Leafs, if there's one word I can really think of to describe them, is sharp.
Yeah.
They look really sharp, man. Like, they look like they're in sync, too. They're fast. I don't know what it is, man. They get some of these breaks and stuff like that where they're just out skating some of our guys. And then you got Big Bob out there by himself on an island, which we'll get to Big Bob in a second, but he's playing a great series, all things considered.
Yeah.
And yeah, bro, they look really sharp. I just feel like the Maple Leafs, like we met a really good match. I feel like we definitely were better and showed it than the Lightning. Like you can tell that there was a difference there between our team and theirs, but the Maple Leafs look like they got a good squad in their hands.
They definitely are going to be a tough team to take out, right? But that just gives you more confidence when you're able to beat such a high-level team, right? Because then that validates how you can see yourself and be like, all right, we're also a very high-level team.
Yeah, we already know we are, but you need to be able to get the reps in before the cup.
And manifesting it and all that shit versus actually doing it, right, when the stakes are the highest, which is right now, right? Because they're obviously in the playoffs. That's a whole different thing, and that's something like, again, you can put as a foundation in the locker room and say, yo, this is what we stand on because this is our standard of playing right now, which is for them, what keeps them being one of the best.
Championship hockey.
Yeah, man, and look, and even in Game 4, right, like you mentioned Toronto, bro, they gave up that one goal in the first period, and then it was 30 plus 40 minutes of hardcore hockey, nobody scoring. Both goalies, Joseph Waugh and Big Bob, playing lights out, right? Because both teams, I think, had 30-something shots by the beginning of the third period. Like, those are things that, like, bro, as a goalie, you're out there putting in that work.
You're grinding.
The
and whole game.
These guys were there the whole time, and it wasn't into that goal that who scored that goal? I think it was Verhaeghe. Yeah, Verhaeghe hit that move in front of the goalie, and then he was able to put it in with 7 minutes left. That's when I was like, sheesh, dog, like finally, now we just got to hold on to this lead and put that pressure. But even still,
they fought back.
They went 3 minutes and like 40 seconds of 6 guys on the ice with no goalie. And they were able to keep the pressure on the Panthers the whole time without the Panthers even able to get some type of shot off to try to make an empty netter. You got to be high level to do that, right, as a team with 6 guys on the ice, no goalie. And you also have to be a high level team to defend that, right, and withstand that for 3+ minutes.
And that's what I literally go back to what I was just saying about them being sharp, man, because we have some guys that can handle the puck.
Yeah.
And all they need is a little crease, like a chance and a little crease, and they can flick that shit to the goal. And the fact that they couldn't, for that long, and they were being able to get held off, it's like these guys know what they're doing. That's why they can afford to do that. When they pull the goalie, like, they know they're going to have the puck on their side the whole time. They're going to be able to maneuver it. So we got to be ready. We got to stay ready the whole time.
We got to be ready.
And I'm a little concerned, dog. We're going back up on the road.
I know I'm going to sound like a super fan, but can I tell you why I'm not worried about this Game 5 on Wednesday?
Absolutely. This is, I think, why everybody's here.
It's because we're a more physical team than they are, dog. And in these type of grinded out games, in pivotal matches, you can count on the Panthers being more savvy, being more, aware of the situations, how to use their hits, when to go full throttle, when to back off, when to engage and try to get the guy to, do something unruly. The Panthers are so good at that. And they're putting their physical force on those guys, and that's causing Toronto to be out of step, out of sync, and not able to play the game that they want to, which is get out and be quick on the ice and get those breakaways. I feel real confident about us being a good road team with the experience and veteran leadership that we have to go on the road in Toronto, a place where we've won before, and go get a victory. And then bring that shit back home, close it out like we do in the playoffs.
That would be money. I mean, go down 2 and then win 4 straight to close out the series. That would be ideal. But what they've showed is that it's going to be a little bit tougher than that. That they can do it. I think the Panthers can definitely do it, but man, it's going to be an uphill battle.
I just don't think that it would shock anybody if the Panthers did it. If they went out there and won Game 5 in a gritty performance, it ends up being 4-3.
It might shock a couple Canadians.
Yeah, them, because they're expecting Toronto to win, right? But it wouldn't shock the whole nation to be like, wow, look at. No, it'd be like, damn, look, the Panthers are really on that time. You know what I mean? And the rest of the NHL has to be careful because the Stanley Cup defending champions are not to be fucked with.
Nah, we're playing lights out right now. We're playing really good hockey. We get hit. Like any fight. You're not just gonna be completely clean. You're gonna take some hits, but we know how to punch back and bounce back, man. Is everybody good? We're missing anybody that we need crucial?
Bro, like I said, man, they've been playing so physical without really having guys suspended.
That's the
have
best.
Anybody out or really injured. everybody's a full go. Everybody's running on all pistons. It's going to be a tough team to beat.
Talk to me about Big Bob before we get off this topic. Are you happy with his play?
He's showing why he's going to go down as a Panthers legend, and his name is going to be next to Van Wiesbroek up there in the rafters. When he's done, that man is going into the rafters like that quick. Same next season, hey, congratulations. Forget making it to the Hall of Fame.
You're up there now, Baba.
You're up there now. Because he's just an example of consistent class, consistent high performance, consistent big results. That was his 5th shutout in the playoffs, dog. You know how hard it is to have a fucking shutout in the playoffs, dog? When you're facing 35 shots a game, 30 shots a game, 38 shots a game, that's really hard, dog. And Big Bob has always been able to put up those type of performances for us. That's part of the reason that you feel so confident about going on the road and giving yourself a real good opportunity to win a game that's close, that's tight, because the guy behind you is doing everything he can to keep that game tight for you guys to go out there and execute, you know? What can I say, bro? He's a fucking legend.
Yeah.
Big Bob is showing you why he's that good, why people value him so much, and why he's such a respected goalie in the NHL. It's because performances like that.
That's why he gets paid the big bucks, dog, because he's out there going to war for us every game.
Every game.
And it's not easy. Some days we don't got it, and he's getting pounded. He's getting pelted with shots. But, yeah, he holds it down for us, and we need him, especially if we're trying to repeat, man.
Yeah.
We're going to need Big Bob. That's how that happens.
Wednesday, Game 5, I expect a big performance from him and the rest of the team to get that dub. And then Friday night, we'll be able to catch the end of the game. You know what I'm saying?
What time is that Friday night game?
To be determined. It hasn't come out yet.
I'm very curious because, we got plans that night. I want to know. I wouldn't mind that being like an 8 p.m. game.
Right? Or, hey, can you do us a solid and put this TV on it?
Yeah, I'll take the projector, cuz.
You know what I mean?
We'll talk about that offline.
Yeah, yes.
Put that in the notes.
Write that down in the notes. Vamos, gatos. Let's get these 2 dubs and bring it back home, all right?
Let's go.
We'll put in a cat, tiger, panther growl in there. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, it'll sound like that.
All right, let's talk about the obvious team that we really don't like right now, right?
That is no longer in the playoffs.
Right, no longer in the playoffs.
The season is now officially done.
As expected, right? But the manner that they left the playoffs was not expected because I didn't see them getting swept.
That's right. That's why I was getting confused with the Panthers. It was the Heat that got swept. I am very sad about that, as are a lot of people here in Miami. To see
sad
the performance. Not sad, because, you see the performance that, they put up to get into the playoffs, to be the first 10th seed to ever make the playoffs, right?
Right.
And you're like, damn, all right, maybe there's a little glimmer of hope there where maybe we won't get completely embarrassed on national television, and we ended up getting swept by the Cavs, bro.
I mean, I believe that was the only thing that I asked of them to start this series. I put it on the Instagram post. I was like, please don't embarrass us. I don't expect you to win this series. I don't expect you guys to pop off for 50 points. Just please don't embarrass us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, not this season, Don't let everybody be like, he got swept. And sure enough, dog, he got swept. And looking bad, too, right? Like, where the guys that we were expecting to play well, right, and do something that's really good, you're talking about your hero, your Bam. Neither of those guys really balled out. Neither of those guys gave you a game where you were like, fucking finally, this guy's going off or something like that, and we got a chance. We weren't even close to the Cavaliers.
No.
We weren't even close to them.
Not even. Not even within arm's reach.
No. And like I said, for a team that's based on defense and has defensive pride and blah, 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 we got our ass kicked, and they put up a bunch of points on us in every single game. And that's the part where I'm like, damn, is that they're that much better than us, or is that we didn't even get close to their effort or matching their effort? You know what I mean? Then at that point, you got to start to question the rest of the team, right? And the players that you have and what type of moves are going to happen. But I didn't expect them to get swept. I will tell you this, though. For me, and I'm sure for the front office, right? Because we saw it, we heard it heard it on Pat Riley's conference. They're not running this team back. They know that they need to improve this team, and they know that there are moves to be made, and they're gonna try to make them. So for me, I'm like, all right, this loss helps clarify the picture on a lot of different players on a lot of different levels, right? Now, do you do your best to keep Bam and Hero? Sure, why not, right? But it's obvious that neither one of these guys are a superstar in the making. It's just point blank, right? They're not a superstar in the making. Okay, cool. What's the ceiling then, right? And I was thinking about it today. I was like, man, if you think about it, Tyler's ceiling right now is probably higher than Bam's. And I don't want to say by a lot, maybe by a good 40 to 50% higher than Bam's. The reason being is that we've seen Hero take leaps every single season, right? He improves something, he improves on his shooting, more threes, more points, more clutch free throws, whatever. But he's getting better every single year. With Bam, it's been like, all right, you've done the one thing that we know you can do consistently, which is be amazing at defense, but there hasn't been anything else to really bump you up to be like, oh, now Bam does this also.
So you're saying Bam hasn't really evolved as much as Hero?
Correct. I don't think that their ability to evolve as an NBA player is the same projection.
Yeah, you think Bam plays at a high level, but he's already been there, and that's kind of where he'll be.
Right.
Whereas Hero, there still might be a little bit of an unknown, for Hero as far as what his true potential might be. Is what you're trying to get at?
Correct. Because he's still young, dog, by relative NBA standards.
Yeah, he's what, 25 years old?
25 years old, dog, and he's been with us his whole career. So imagine, the more coaching, the more comfortable that he gets in this offense and this culture and blah, 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 blah. Yeah, bro, his level of play can continue to rise because of the type of player he is. He's not going to stop shooting. He's always going to be a good shooter, right? And he'll put on muscle, so he'll be able to, be better at getting to the basket. We've seen him finish a bunch of times this year in the paint, right? Which in previous years, that was one of his weak points. So now he's learning how to score in different ways. So yeah, this guy's going to continue to evolve. Does that mean that he can learn how to be a big defender? Maybe not, because that's an effort thing, right? In the NBA, you really got to want to play defense. Maybe it turns on in his head, right? Maybe it doesn't, but at least we know that there's steady growth that could happen on the offensive side. And that's probably more of what we need as a team, right? More offense than what you need more defense. Let's be honest.
Absolutely. I think everybody would agree with that. We still need defense. Like, that's what you said, we've always prided ourselves on we're fundamentally sound on defense, and we're dogs, and we're not going to let you just come into our house and score, especially at home.
Yeah.
That's kind of gone out the window as of late, teams kind of have their way with the Heat, do whatever they want. But we definitely are lacking on the offensive side. We don't have enough firepower. So it got us in that not the Pacers, the Cavs series. We just never were even within arm's reach. They were just so far ahead out of the gates every time, and it was like we're just down by so many right now that like coming back isn't even in sight. Yeah, man, I don't know. The Pat Riley presser you mentioned, a lot of buzz around it. Boys weren't happy. They didn't love what Pat had to say about the Heat's future or lack thereof. I don't know who's available next season or this offseason that we can go after. Like, what can turn this around for us right now, dog?
I mean, there are plenty of things that can turn us around. It's just the likelihood of them happening, right? And not in the literal sense of the trade. It's whether or not you have the assets to match whatever is needed to pull off something like that.
But does Pat Riley, you think, still got it? I guess is what I'm also trying to ask.
Absolutely, dog. Listen, it's not about a Pat Riley thing, right? Yeah, Pat Riley's at the front of it.
Yeah,
because he's the one who
he's
created
the captain.
it. But he's just the guy to go, yeah, now you're a part of this system. This is what I'm selling you, the system. I'm not selling you me. My shit is, you can see my name on the court. If you want to know about me, Google me. You kids Google, right?
Absolutely. But
right,
in an evolving NBA, what if that system might be outdated?
Okay, maybe. But then again, maybe we're not targeting the youngest NBA potential star that could be, right? Maybe we're not targeting a 23, 24, 25-year-old player. Maybe we're targeting a vet who knows what we're about and knows how this franchise is and what we do in this building, right?
That hasn't happened, though. We've wanted that to happen, but that hasn't happened because we haven't had Pat Riley facilitate that for us.
It's not that. It's, do you have the assets to pull off the trade? Do you have the assets to make the move? And in those other periods, we didn't have the assets. Think about it. What would we have traded for Lillard? It would have been Jovic.
What about for Mitchell?
Or Mitchell, right? It would have been XY player, XY player, XY player. And that team on the receiving end would be like, Bro, that was from your 10th seed team. I'm not going to give you a potential baller for a fucking trio of X. You get what I'm saying? And that's not me, saying that those guys are bad players, the guys that we would be trading, but there are better offers out there,
Sure.
And that's what makes the deal in the NBA. Who has the better offer? So, yeah, Pat Riley's showing up with a limited hand, but we expect him to be able to get it done every single time. I get it. But the standard is there.
Okay, but then, that's my thing, man. It's like, how did we even get here? How do other teams have so many more assets to work with than we do when we haven't had a superstar? Like Jimmy, that was our superstar. We weren't even really paying him like that, to be honest. And then before that, it was like LeBron and Wade 10 years ago with Bosch. Like, that's 10 years ago. How have we not been able to position ourselves properly for where we stand right now?
I think it's a combination of misreading the talent that you have and acquiring players that you shouldn't have, right? So you made
Kyle Lowry.
Kyle Lowry was a bad move. Terry Rozier was a bad move.
Yeah, Terry Rozier really hasn't panned out.
So there's multiple players that we can point at to be like, the Heat wasted money here, right? When you look at it in that sense, you're like, all right, then we're gonna have to find ways to move on from these contracts, right? In order to continue to bring equal or better value worth of talent. This is where things get interesting for the Heat. This is the year where they'll have more assets available to them. They're not super sexy, but they're good assets. So that might bring you back a player that you can, just slide on in, and he's part of the Heat culture. The second part is we can cut a lot of dead weight, money-wise, to put us in a better position to throw a big money sack, to some high-level player and bring them in that way. So we have two ways to go about in how we improve the team from this year into next year and even the following year. Because let's be honest, unless one of these players that we have on the squad that we're paying money to jumps up to the level where they're like, well, now I'm a national superstar and everybody likes me and I'm a baller. Guaranteed all-star. We don't have that yet. Could Hero do that? Possibly. He was an all-star this year, right? I can see this dude leveling up his game and being an all-star back-to-back years. Can Bam be an all-star? Absolutely. But it's going to take an awesome offensive season in order for him to do so.
Right.
I don't think he can.
I'm trying to look at a list right now of free agents, and nobody's really standing out. Josh Giddey from the Bulls is going to be a restricted free agent. Who's another name I can even see?
Bro,
Spencer Dinwiddie for the Mavs.
One of the big names
Kyrie
that got dropped today was Giannis, right?
Giannis would be. Is he? Let me see. Where the Bucks? Go ahead.
No. He's not a restricted agent or a free agent.
Milwaukee.
He's neither. He's signed for the next two years, big money dollars. So
it would be a trade.
It would be a trade, but he mentioned that he wanted to, looking outside the organization for a team that's more stable in winning, is a big market, blase. Obviously, that puts the Heat in contention. Number one, off rip, just by location, right? People would love to live in Miami and work out of Miami and all the business opportunities that excel here. That puts New York in contention. Good player, big city. Again, business opportunities. You got your LA teams, the Clippers or the Lakers. Big city, big opportunities for business. So those are three locations that, maybe add another one or two, but it's going to be a small pool. Can Pat Riley go to Giannis and be like, hey, listen, you can be our marquee player here. We'll build off of this, and this is how I plan to do it. Boom, boom, boom.
There's a lot of good Greek restaurants here.
Yeah, for sure.
It would make the most sense for him.
But even, we flirted with Kevin Durant 15 years.
But that's it. I feel like Giannis, I think, would be able, we can have a good run with Giannis.
But think about it, for sure, a long run.
Right.
A longer run, right?
Right.
With KD, if you put KD and you add a Bam and a Hero,
that could make some noise.
That could make some noise.
But I'd rather bring in
if you're talking Giannis or KD.
Maybe you let go of Bam. Maybe you have to let go of Hero. You put some other pieces around him. We go grab some other guys. Maybe not superstar guys, but great role players, that we can fit in like we've done in the past in our championship roles.
No, I get it, but I think that we gotta really focus on who the second and third player would be that we add, right? Do we add a point guard who's a veteran, knows how to distribute and defend at a high level? Can we find that guy? You know what I mean? We do have potential good big men, right? Jovic, if he stays. Khalil Ware, I feel like had an amazing rookie year, right? Not amazing, but a really good.
Yeah, great rookie year. He was playing really in the playoffs. You're good. You're doing good.
You know, getting yourself acclimated to the NBA. You went to the G League, bounced back. You became a starter by the end of the season, like, and you played in the playoffs. Now you got experience.
Right.
Awesome first season. And we have a draft pick this year, right, which is going to be in the top 20. I don't think it's protected based on where we landed. It depends on also where the Warriors, where they lose and match up, whatever. But I just think that we have options available to us. Maybe this summer that we are smaller targets, but next year we'll definitely be in a wider range of what we can do. And that's going to be the year to look forward to. Unfortunately, in this off season, if the Heat do something, it's going to be a surprise to everybody. You know, like even if we land KD or if we, you know, make a crazy offer for Giannis, I think that, you know, those are the big shots that we're going to take. If not, it's going to be a series of little shots that nobody's going to really love.
It might be also, I mean, if we know Pat Riley and we know he's not going away for the foreseeable future.
Never.
He might be trying to load up even more this year. And It might be not a great season next season, but he might even be thinking about the 2026 offseason where guys might be unrestricted free agents that he can go after versus having to trade assets so that he can pair them up with guys like Hero and Bam without having to sacrifice them necessarily. So,
and we have guys that are on expiring contracts, which are always attractive, you know what I mean, during the season, right? Because, I'll give you my star player whose deal is up in a year or two, and I'll take the expiring contract that I can take off my books at the end of the season. See you later, buddy. Go get paid.
I just want the Heat to be competitive again. Like these guys right here, bro. Back to this level. Like the Heat were here. The Heat were at this level. And we need them to get back to that level of play in the NBA, man.
Yeah, for sure. Tough times ahead. Some interesting moves to be made. Let's see what happens with the draft and all that stuff. But bad season for the Heat. You know, let's see. We gotta focus on the bounce back for the Heat. So let's see. Let's see how that goes. Speaking of seeing how something goes, the Dolphins, they had their draft, right? Everybody knows who we picked. You know, we went big with the first 3 picks, 2 defensive tackles, and 1 offensive lineman, a guard.
How do you feel about that fundamentally?
Fundamentally, I think it makes sense because I felt like we were a small team on the line, especially on the defensive side.
Sure.
You know, because even when we had Chris Wilkins, who's amazing, he was also undersized. Small dude, maybe 260, 70, right?
Not a true nose.
Now we got 2 guys that are 330, 325, 340. Yeah, that's pretty awesome. That sounds immovable, right? And more importantly, what that's going to mean for Weaver's game plan as far as stuffing the run, right? Because now you don't have to bring too many guys. You essentially have 2 bodies in one, right? When you have those type of guys with size. But interesting enough, you know, for me, I think the smart move was picking the guard because we do need a big guard. This kid's 330 pounds. We need size, guys who can move.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Guys who can hold up an attack. Because if our defensive tackles are 320, what doesn't mean that another team that we're facing doesn't have big-ass defensive tackles as well, right?
Exactly.
So that offensive guard, you know, him being there, you know, Patrick Paul getting his shot at left tackle is going to be massive, right?
I think that's going to be big for us.
That's going to be massive. But I trust in him, right? And that's another big-ass kid.
Yeah.
So I'm happy that they're working on the trenches because we were soft.
Yeah.
We were soft in the trenches on both sides. Now it looks like we got some guys that are intent on being physical and being a huge presence on the line, and that's going to bode well. So let's see.
What was your favorite pick of the Dolphins draft?
Believe it or not, it's going to sound dumb, but it was the first defensive tackle that we took, the first pick, because I felt like that's a kid that you can put in week 1. Like, he'll show up early, he'll be ready to play, he's going to read the playbook, he'll know what stunts and pulls to do, but when day 1 starts, week 1, you can give that guy 10 to 20 steps and be a presence, you know? And if he shows you something where he's run stuffing left and right and has 4 tackles on the line, maybe 2 or 1 behind the line of scrimmage, that's a guy that I look at and is like, yeah, he can be a contributor from day one. So in my opinion, that was the favorite pick. Now, granted, we did hit on some important positions, right? We drafted a safety. We drafted Elwins.
Quinn Ewers from Texas, quarterback out of Texas.
Yeah, I felt like that was interesting, right? To get a guy that you can build up, essentially, who has a typical, quote-unquote, NFL quarterback body, kind of big, right? Can sling it. So for me, I was like, all right, that's kind of interesting. Hopefully we can mold this guy, right? And kind of start to use that as a future insurance policy based on what happens with Tua this year.
He's 6'2", 210.
Big dude. Not massive, but big dude.
Bigger than Tua.
Yeah. NFL average, right? Right around the NFL average. But a kid that can grow. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A kid that can grow. So let's see. But what I like about it is that gives us time to be like, all right, you don't even have to worry about being the backup quarterback. We're just going to show you about our system, and now you're going to go to work every day learning this shit like the back of your hand without us having to be like, guess what, kid, you got to step in this week.
I think he will be the backup quarterback.
I don't know, man.
I like that pick, bro, especially like where we got him. I know he had an injury in college and stuff like that and whatever, but I think that kid is possibly league ready. Not to be a starting quarterback, but like exactly what you're talking about right now. A guy that like is a good football player, that has a good build, good potential, and is going into a situation with a team that has a starting quarterback and potentially we already have our backup.
Yeah.
So it's that. It's like, hey, get acclimated with the NFL and like get to know the system that you're in. And I hate to be that guy, but like with this team that you have and the guys that are ahead of you, you may most likely
it's not a small
get
chance.
A shot your rookie season.
Right, it's not a small chance, but it's a chance.
I hope it doesn't happen. I hope he gets to develop, doesn't get a snap, you know what I mean? Like whatever. But bro, that's a pick right there that, it's very interesting for us, especially with the injuries that Tua's had, the injuries and all that and the concussions. And our backup quarterback issues as well. If Tua stays healthy and he's just able to develop even as just his backup, dog, you never know. Like that could be great for us. We can either use Tua as trade bait later on, maybe trade him away. He's been injury free for a couple of years. He hasn't got any concussions, and he's developed into a great quarterback. Or, hey, you know what? We got a great backup that's sitting here. You know what I mean? Either way, we still got a guy, So I kind of like that pick where we got him. I'm glad we didn't like reach for a quarterback anywhere there.
Right.
It's kind of like, in the later half of the draft, we went and got one after we got some other crucial pieces. So it's like, I don't mind that. No. I don't mind that play at all.
No, absolutely not. I liked it too, and one thing about the quarterback room, you always have to make it as competitive as possible.
100%.
Right? That has to be your most competitive room. Now your wide receivers, now your running backs, whatever. It has to be the quarterback room. And it's good that Tua experiences this type of pressure because it's going to definitely elevate his game or his sharpness, or at least how he approaches it mentally with having the history of injuries and shit like that and needing to avoid that in order to have a good season statistically, right? So let's see. Another pick that I like was the running back, a big running back, something that's a little bit change of pace. I think he's like 6 feet. 230, 225.
That was another interesting one for me, but on the other side of things where it's like we already have two guys that we've gotten in the last few years. Mm-hmm. And,
But my issue with that is that...
Why another one?
Because they're not short yardage backs. You feel me?
But I feel like for that kind of situation, bro, like why couldn't we just pick up somebody? There's probably a guy out there that we can pick up.
Yeah, but this one's way cheaper.
Sure. But I mean, even like a league veteran, like a league minimum kind of guy that we can go out there and just get, like we don't have to really give a bro, we have two great running backs.
What I think it creates is competition in that room.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Because now they walk in and they're like, oh shit, they got a big back, dog. What if this guy is fucking averaging 6 yards a carry here?
Brandon Jacobs over here.
You know what I mean? So as long as it continues to elevate the type of talent that we have and the type of tools that are at the disposal of Mike McDaniels, the better. You know what I mean? Like we saw what it elevated the offense to when you add a good tight end, right? Like, and what Mike McDaniels did with it.
Yeah, with Jonnu.
You know what I mean? So like that's why I'm like, all right, we gotta continue to add to the type of weapons that we have, and I really like that pick. But interestingly enough, Vegas had us as an 8-win team this year. Or a 9-win team, and I was like, well, I guess Obviously, the AFC is a lot harder, and this season is going to be very tough. Though we're facing a lot of playoff teams.
Before I ask you this, I'll give you a little bit of insight. You know, I forgot who it was, what NFL insider or analyst gave the good grades, and the Dolphins, I think, got like a C minus. Mm-hmm. Do you think that's a fair grade? If Absolutely. Not, what do you think the Dolphins should have got?
I think it is fair because they would have probably pointed out to like us not drafting a cornerback early, right? We saw the kid Will Johnson, he dropped completely into like the second or third round, which is, you know, kind of weird for that guy being talked about as a top 20, top 15 pick. But I think that's why they gave us those grades, which is fair to criticize, right? Like, we didn't address the cornerback position, so now we're going into the season with no number one corner, right, essentially, because we're trading away
Ramsey's pretty much gone.
Right? So that's where the negative factors come in, right? We didn't really address the linebacker position as well, an area where we need a little bit more depth. So obviously it's hard to hit on all those picks. We traded away some picks. So I can see why people will be like, hey, you guys just had an average one. But I think that they did a good job of addressing the main issues, right? And that was the trenches. The trenches were the area that needed the most improvement because we were known as a soft team. Sorry, we can't be a physical running team like we want to be unless we have size on the line, right? And we're not going to be able to stop a physical running team unless you have size on the line. And now they've been able to accomplish that with people who can potentially be day one starters, you know, and that's what we were talking about pre-draft, right? Like drafting players that you can put into the system right away, day one, and have those guys contribute, you know, off rip. So I'm not thrilled. I ain't mad. I am content with the way that the draft unfolded for the Dolphins. You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
See what happens, bro. Training camp is not too far away. You know, a lot of these guys are going to be in the building already. They've done a good job of signing a bunch of players, you know, in the free agency and stuff like that, undrafted rookies. So let's see, competition, bro.
Yep.
Competition.
I'm looking at it here on NFL.com. C+ for the Dolphins. We're the 26th ranked team as far as our grade.
Yeah.
Here are our picks before we wrap this up. First round pick was Kenneth Grant out of Michigan. Mm-hmm. Second round pick, Jonah Savane, the guard out of Arizona. Fifth round pick, Jordan Phillips, the defensive tackle out of Maryland. The cornerback, Jason Marshall out of Florida, was our fifth round pick. Another fifth round pick, Dante Trader Jr., safety. Sixth round pick, Ollie Gordon, which is the running back out of Oklahoma State you were talking about. Seventh round pick, Quinn Ewers, quarterback out of Texas. And our last pick of the draft was a defensive tackle from Georgia Tech named Zeke Biggers.
Big boy, too.
So, out of all those, I mean, we got one offensive lineman.
Starter.
Yes, absolutely. He's going to be plug-and-play starter. But, you know, I would have liked at least one more offensive lineman in that mix. I wonder, I'm curious. Let's read their analysis. Do you mind if I read it?
Sure.
Just to get what they say. I want to see what they say. Everyone told the Dolphins how soft they were last season, and Chris Greer took that to heart, spending the first pick on the gargantuan nose tackle. Gargantuan.
Gargantuan's a good
Great
word.
Adjective. Kenneth Grant. But what is the issue? They don't criticize that. They just give the highs, not the lows. I'm curious why that's the case that they gave him that. You know, for me, it's that. I would have liked more offensive guards, and again, the issues, you know, at safety and corner that we could have gone after. Maybe it was that.
Yeah, for sure, it has to be, because maybe they didn't rank defensive tackle as a high priority for the Dolphins, right? Like the analysts, let's say. But when we look at the team and we know the team, we watch the team, it's like very obvious, bro. We need a fucking nose tackle. We need good offensive linemen. We need big guys. All of our guys on the offensive line are tiny, small guys. Why? Why are we ranked in the bottom 10 as far as average size in the offensive line? That has to change.
Yeah.
Ranked in the bottom 10 of fucking defensive line average.
We need
that
big boys.
has to change, you know? Because all the playoff teams that are winning games in the playoffs, guess what? They're in the top 5, top 10.
Yeah.
So
they got guys that can move people around.
Absolutely, and the Dolphins needed that. Bad. So let's see. You know, let's be honest. We all know that this season depends on Tua's health. So the more that guy stays healthy, the better chances we have to win games.
Yeah,
let's see what happens with the rest of the season.
Training camp. We got training camp to look forward to. There's still a lot of questions about, you know, who's going to be there come August.
Yep.
But
big names too, right?
Yep.
Tyreek.
We're gonna be here
Ramsey.
bringing it to you.
Yeah, definitely. And when it definitely comes about, we'll talk about it and chop it up. Real quick, before we wrap up, how'd you feel about Shedeur Sanders dropping down in the draft? Dog, kind of sucked for him, huh? But I understand it.
I don't care, honestly, either way for it. But my opinion on it was, I think what a lot of people said, if you didn't carry yourself the way you do, he just kind of rubs people the wrong way. And there was a question mark. You talk about variables, like, how is that guy going to be in the locker room with whatever antics he's up to or whatever he's doing, shooting a rap video or in the locker room or whatever he wants to do because he thinks that he can because he's Deion's son. You know what I mean? And I think that's kind of the stigma that he had. So it was understandable what happened. The shock to me was who took him, being Cleveland.
Yeah,
considering Cleveland has consistently made mistakes at selecting quarterbacks, and on top of that, their quarterback room right now is a mess.
Yeah.
But that might be a good situation for Shedeur in the long run.
For sure. And, obviously they gave themselves a bigger insurance policy by the round that they picked him, right? It wasn't necessarily a high pick or anything like that. First 3-4 rounds. He slid, dog, a lot. So it was understandable for the Browns to make that jump. I just kind of felt like, damn, dog, that's why you don't necessarily want to set yourself up too much before the draft happens because you never know what happens. You know what I mean? Like, things are so uncertain. Teams can change their mind at the last second. And then you thought you were this, but now you're necessarily that. So
and
let's see if he uses it as motivation.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what he needs to do because there was a bunch of other quarterbacks taken before him.
Yeah,
including
one on his team.
So there's people that said no, I'm actively going to avoid going with Shedeur.
Yeah,
and that's not. I mean, also it could be his level of play. I also think he's kind of mid, bro. I don't think he's a high level talent. Honestly, I'm sorry. I think he got there's a little bit of nepotism behind his success and the fact that his dad just kind of. Handed it to him. Granted, he's had some big plays and, he has some good, moments and stuff like that. But for this next level, I don't think he's got it, but we'll see.
It depends on his work ethic, right? Let's see how hard he works at being NFL caliber quarterback, right? Because plenty of dudes we've seen come into the NFL in early rounds and not pan out. And we've seen the vice versa where plenty of dudes that came out in the late rounds end up being one of the better players in the NFL.
Yeah.
So it's up to Shedeur, dog, and how much work he's willing to put in, and he's going to have opportunities in Cleveland. That's for a fact.
Yep.
Right? He's going to have opportunities in Cleveland. So let's see how that goes. But I think we should wrap this up by telling everybody, or at least reminding them, so make sure you guys are subscribed to the Miami Golf Bros page. Trust me, you're not going to miss it.
We got a lot of content coming this weekend, man, especially on the Instagram, mainly on the Instagram this weekend. Make sure you're following along Miami Golf Bros.
Cutting edge graphics, all type of shit, man. Cool shit. But this is the part where we tell you to tell a friend.
To tell a friend.
To tell another friend.
To tell everybody they know.
To tell everybody that they know about this amazing podcast we got going on here. Keep bringing you the latest in sports.
Yep.
And we're going to wrap it up right there. Till next time, y'all. Peace.